opening play, fourth quarter. And he's missed that one. Well, that's not the Paul McCallum of 2011, and
look out.
They're bringing it out. I wasn't sure that was a good idea. Tristan Jackson thinks otherwise. Down the sidelines, cut back, no flags. It's a touchdown.
All-Star Sports Show, Merrick DeCash.
Ethan Smythe.
Back with another week here on the show. We have lots to talk about today, including our CFL preview show. And boy, is it going to be an interesting one as we have 8 teams in the CFL. Not a lot to talk about, but we're going to go through each team, spend about a minute on each team. And we're going to rank the teams in me and Ethan Smythe's power rankings. You want to explain to me a little bit how the power rankings work?
Well, we each came up with our own lists and decided to combine them with the averages of where the team's placed in our list, and we've compiled a list that includes both of our opinions and what we think will be the definitive power rankings of the CFL.
And we're going to start with number 8, the worst team in the league, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and you have to think from last season's crap performance 2 years ago going to the Grey Cup, and now they're absolutely horrible, losing 52-0 to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Give me your thoughts on the Blue Bombers.
Well, the one issue that they have compared to a lot of the other teams is quarterback. They don't really have a standout quarterback even when Buck Pierce is healthy, but there's a big question. He's never really healthy. Their defense is shaky. Losing Odell Willis has got to hurt, and to be honest, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are not the Swaggerville they used to be. They're now in the bottom of the barrel.
And the one bright spot they have to look to is rookie Chad Simpson. With over 1,000 rushing yards last year, he's the only bright spot on that team. You can't really look to the quarterback position on that team, as Buck Pierce is always injury prone. At number 8, at number 7, who do we have at number 7, Ethan?
We have our hometown Edmonton Eskimos.
And with the Eskimos, you never really know what to expect. This year, they're predicted maybe to stick in there in the West. I personally think they'll get the crossover. But you have all sorts of bright spots on that team, ranging from Fred Stamps to J.C. Sherritt, even Damaso Munoz putting up quite a bit of tackles, ranked 4th with 88 tackles last year in the CFL. But explain to me a little bit about the starting quarterback position, what everyone's talking about here in Edmonton.
Well, the big news that came out of the first game of the preseason was that Matt Nichols, the quarterback who got an injury in the crossover playoff game last year, again out for the season with a torn ACL. It'll be interesting to see how Mike Riley can play as the starter, if he can continue his performance in BC, or if it was kind of a fluke and he'll just be mediocre. But yeah, J.C. Sherritt, hard to repeat a year like he had last year.
Next up at number 6 will be the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Ethan, explain to us a little bit about the Roughriders and what's looking good and bad for them this season.
Well, Darian Durant, same old story there at QB. He's done a pretty good job over the past few years. Out of the top 5 in passing yards last year, though. But a big reason why I think they'll be better this year is Geroy Simon coming over from BC. Easy Hall of Famer in the CFL, no question about it. One of the best receivers of all time in the CFL. This guy's amazing. He'll definitely help out the Rough Riders offense this year.
And I agree with you on that. Durant not really performing up to par with a little bit more than 3,000 receiving yards. His completion percentage was not at all up to par, only at 64%. Anyway, the Riders do have a very great running back. You pointed out the receiving core. I'm going to point out the running back in Corey Sheets. I really like this guy. Only 200 yards behind John Cornish for the league lead in rushing last year. And that guy was just a rookie last year. Imagine what he can do in his second year in the CFL. Placing number 5th in me and Ethan Smythe's power rankings is the Hamilton Tiger Cats. These guys are kind of the underdog. I think they're going to be a sleeper. I had them ranked number 3. Ethan had them all the way down at number 7. But they have a good team. It's just a matter of putting the pieces together with Henry Burris, a veteran QB, his second year in Hamilton, also Andy Fantuz. But how is that temporary stadium in Hamilton going to affect them this year?
Well, I think it's a bigger deal than what most people would think. You're used to going to the same stadium for practice games, whatever. Now you're going to a whole new environment that's not really your home anymore. And to be honest, I think Hamilton has a lot of talent, but you look at the offseason drama with Chris Williams, you look at this team losing their coach after just 1 year. I just don't know if they can quite do it. Henry Burris was magic last year, but in my eyes, I just don't see the Hamilton Tiger Cats doing that well this year.
I agree with you, and just as their coach got fired, George Cortez, he is now the offensive coordinator with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We have to see what that turns out to be in Saskatchewan. Going to be an interesting storyline. And the CFL, we're just going to point this out real quick. The CFL fan poll for the 2013 season starts tomorrow. Who will win the 101st Grey Cup? 20% of the fan population says the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and surprisingly, the BC Lions are in second with the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Toronto Argonauts trailing. That's pretty close to our power rankings, except that the fans seem to favor the Saskatchewan Roughriders, as is the 101st Grey Cup in Saskatchewan.
They have very passionate fans, so I wouldn't be surprised if that plays a role. I don't think they're quite that good, but you never know. Only 8 teams, anything can happen.
And at number 4, these guys seem to keep sticking around every single year. Ethan, explain a bit about the Montreal Alouettes.
The Montreal Alouettes have been competitors ever since Anthony Calvillo was their quarterback. Have won many Grey Cups, 2 in a row not that long ago, but it'll be interesting to see if Dan Hawkins can do the job that Mark Trestman did now that Trestman's in the NFL. Calvillo, age doesn't seem to be a factor with this guy. He's almost like a Brett Favre, if you will, and I think that he'll have the similar year that he's had the past couple years. I mean, again, second in the CFL in yards last year, 31 touchdowns. No reason why I don't think Montreal can win the East, but I think they'll finish second behind Toronto.
And that's a very valid prediction, Ethan. And at number 3, these guys, higher than I thought they'd be, but the Calgary Stampeders. These guys always been the wild card. The Stampeders, of course, in the West. Last year, with a pretty good record in the CFL West Division, with a 12-6 500 percentage record for the Stamps with 24 points. They ended the season on a 4-game win streak. John Cornish, their all-star last year, as we saw. Ethan, your prediction or your just overall analysis on the Stampeders this season?
Well, I like the Calgary Stampeders this year. I mean, you look at, especially last year with Drew Tate being out, Kevin Glenn played amazing. He'll be back this upcoming year. John Cornish, CFL Most Outstanding Player last year. Big reason why they made it to the Grey Cup. And I like their chances to compete with BC for tops in the West.
BC and Toronto, the battle for number 1 in our power rankings for the All-Star Sports Show, and the winner is the Toronto Argonauts, and these guys really just have it all. Special teams with Chad Owens, they have good receivers, they have former Edmonton Eskimo receivers with Maurice Mann and others like Jason Barnes, and all-pro quarterback in Ricky Ray, even Chad Cackert adding into the mix. Your assessment of the Argos?
Yeah, I think you said it all. I mean, Chad Cackert, a real surprise last year, especially late in the year heading into the Grey Cup. This guy was really unknown until the latter half of last year. You look around the team, obviously Ricky Ray coming over from the Edmonton Eskimos. Big reason why they made it. He made the receivers better, including a guy like Chad Owens, who's a great athlete. Doing the MMA over the offseason will increase his physicality as well. I really like the Argonauts. They'll have a shot at repeating this year.
And next is the BC Lions at number 2. We're just going to do a quick little wrap-up of the BC Lions. Kieran Williams is their all-star on defense with 12 sacks, captain of defense. They have a lot of good defensive players, Dante Marsh, Adam Big Hill, all those big names on defense. But will the offense be able to pick up the slack with the loss of G. Roy Simon? Travis Lilday not as good as he was a few years ago. Give me your assessment on the BC Lions.
Well, the BC Lions, as you said, a lot of unproven commodities, especially in the wide receiver position. They did get Emmanuel Arsenault back after a 3-year absence going to the NFL and doing tryouts there. This will be a big addition. He'll probably be the number one guy, but Travis Lulay still third in the CFL in passing yards last year. I think this guy's still got it, and yeah, the BC Lions have a lot of talent on defense. That's their main strong suit, I guess. Mike Benavides now in his second year as head coach.
Thank you for that, Ethan, and that is it for the CFL recap. Merrick DeCash.
And Ethan Smythe. All right, welcome back to the All-Star Sports Show. Ethan Smythe.
Merrick DeCash.
Back with you with the All-Star of the Week, and my pick is from the Chicago Blackhawks right winger number 88, Patrick Kane. This guy just captured his second Stanley Cup championship in 4 years and was an instrumental part, especially in this series, getting 5 points in 6 games, including 3 goals. Winner of the Conn Smythe Trophy, and deservedly so, as once this guy was reunited with John Taves and Brian Bickle, they basically tore it up against the Bruins, and there was no turning back.
And I agree with your pick. I'm going to go with Jonathan Taves. This guy has been amazing all playoffs. He would be kind of like the runner-up Conn Smythe winner because he's just been so instrumental to the Blackhawks' success, not only in this series, but through the whole playoffs. After that Minnesota series, Quenneville probably sparked something in him, and he's been good ever since. 5 points in the last 3 games of the series, plus 5. Only 2 penalty minutes, very disciplined. His shot percentage is good, and Taves is looking to keep it up through next season, so is Kane. But that's it for All-Star of the Week. Merrick DeCash.
And Ethan Smythe.
We'll be right back with question time. Merrick DeCash.
And Ethan Smythe.
Back on the All-Star Sports Show, cruising along here on this Wednesday morning. It's time for question time, our favorite part of the show, and this one comes in from Anthony in Montreal. Will the departure of Mark Trestman affect the performance of the Montreal Alouettes this season?
Well, I think Mark Trestman had a profound impact on the Montreal Alouettes. Him, along with Jim Popp, are a big reason why they've been successful for so long. Dan Hawkins, formerly a coach of the Colorado Buffaloes in college football, and probably best known for a press conference he had a few years ago. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do with that team, and I think it will have an impact.
And the next question comes in from Scott.
All right, this question asks, if the Edmonton Oilers place Sean Horkoff on waivers or buy him out, will any team get him?
I think this is a ridiculous question. To be honest, Sean Horkoff is a plug, an overpaid plug, and don't get me wrong, I believe if his contract was somewhere south of $2 million, teams would be interested. But just because of that high contract value, nobody wants this guy because all he's going to do is eat up cap room. And let's face it, his talent doesn't match what's on the paper on his contract. What do you think about this issue?
Well, I mean, you're right about that. Sean Horkoff's best days are behind him since the 2005-2006 season, where I believe he got 73 points and led him to the Cup final. Since that year, he's really not done much. He's had a lot of injury problems. Surprised he's still the captain because really, at best, he's a third-line center. No one's going to pay $2 million for that. Some team might sign him for maybe $500,000 or so at most, but he's not going to get much more than the league minimum at this point.
I agree with you, and one point I wanted to make, after that Stanley Cup playoffs, they signed so many guys, Ethan Morrow, Michael Pekka, Sergei Samsonov. They were signing those guys to long-term deals, even Hemsky, because they thought that Stanley Cup was the definition of their careers, and ever since then, they've been going south.
That's right.
And that's it for the All-Star Sports Show. You can check us out on Twitter
at All-Star Sports 88,
or send us an email at allstarsportshow@gmail.com. You have any comments, suggestions, or anything to comment on the All-Star Sports Show, you can comment it on our YouTube page, email us, or contact us on Twitter. But for now, Merrick DeCash
and Ethan Smythe
signing out for June 26th. We'll see you next week on the All-Star Sports Show.